Georgia lawyers Bob and Irreverent D talk law. Listen up for stories about how things really happen in our legal system. Who are these guys? Dwayne Singleton, Irreverent D, is a criminal defense attorney in the state of Georgia. Benjamin O. Benson, aka Bob, is a personal injury attorney in Atlanta. On today's episode, vocal warm-ups.
La 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 la.
Now, sit back and take a listen as Bob and Irreverent D talk law.
All right, thank you for joining the Bob and Irreverent D Talk Law podcast. We're joined by Hillary from Frontline Response today. We're going to be talking about the organization she works with and the important work that they're doing. And as always, we're joined by Dwayne Singleton, Irreverent D.
I'll be more reverent today. Bring it down a little bit.
Today we're going to be more serious, but not boring. Listen, today we're going to be talking about something that is super important to me, is super important to Hillary, is super important to Dwayne, and it should be super important to you. So important that you do something about it. Understand, and I think everybody here understands, that there is a serious problem in our community, in our city, and in our state where women, children, young adults are being sexually exploited by people for money. And that needs to stop. We are committed to doing everything that we can to stop it, to raise awareness. And we want to have Frontline Response on today to talk about what they're doing on the front lines to make sure that they're rescuing these people who are being exploited.
Well, and education is so important. Education for judges, for prosecutors, for local law enforcement, so that they can recognize the things they need to be looking for, so they can identify potential victims. Because there's a lot of victims out there that may just look like a shoplifter or may look like somebody on drugs, but is actually a victim of being sex trafficked. And that's what I really want to make sure that we're educating people on, so that they don't ignore it and just say, well, they're just a bad person. No, they're a bad person because they're in a bad situation where somebody is really taking serious advantage of them.
Yeah. I'm going to take issue with your words. I have a difficult time when people use the word trafficking. I know that's the accepted word, right? But it suggests that it's like a inconvenience for getting to work.
Well,
right.
When you think about like people in the back of a transfer trailer truck, it's not always.
Right.
You could be in the passenger seat of a car,
right?
Or they could have given you a plane ticket,
right? That's right. The problem is that the words that we use to describe what we're talking about are important. These the people who are trapped in this, who are enslaved by it, they're not. I mean, traffic is just such a easy word to say and not actually have a mindset of what it means, right? There are people who are being sexually abused for money, and there are people in our community, sick people, who are paying to do it, and it's got to stop. Anyways, one of the things that let's talk about the news, because this is actually in the news.
And now, the news.
In the Court of Appeals of Georgia just recently issued a ruling on a case involving this criminal defendant named Burnett. And here are the underlying facts. Burnett was arrested for and was convicted by a jury of trafficking for sexual servitude a minor, a person who was under the age of 18. And he appealed that judgment saying, listen, I didn't provide her for sexual servitude, so my conviction should be overturned. And the Court of Appeals said, oh, no. You did provide her as for sexual servitude. The hotel room that she was staying at under your name, the phone number that the people who were paying to have sex with her is your phone number, right? if that's not providing, we don't know what is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's essentially what the Court of Appeals said. So, Hillary, tell us, like, is this stuff that happens? It seems really like bizarre and unusual.
Unfortunately, this is very common. We see this over and over again where traffickers are, using their phone, paying for the hotel room, and sexually exploiting, and really having men and women come in and pay to rape them in hotels. I mean, you're talking about language and being clear about what it is.
Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. And we see this. We at Frontline, we're a part of a lot of sting operations where they're trying to catch pedophiles who are trying to purchase sex online. And you see man after man coming in. They think they're coming to have sex with a child, and really they're getting arrested. So this isn't something that's just a one-off case. We see this over and over again, and it is a huge issue in our community.
All right. Now, I didn't mention the specific hotel. It's mentioned in the case. If you want to look it up, you can. But I mean, does this happen where it seems to me like the hotel maybe ought to know something? What do you all see when this kind of stuff happens? Is it in hotel rooms typically?
It is more and more. The exploitation is happening online and then in hotels. You used to see a lot more tracks where there's street prostitution happening, but yeah, we do see it happening in hotels. And I believe hotels need to be held accountable because they are allowing it to happen. And you see the signs. When men are coming into the same room and you see a young girl with an older, the signs are there. And I think we're seeing more and more cases against hotel chains, and victims of trafficking are having success with those cases. But yes, I think it is clear what's happening in these hotels, and we need to have more education and awareness so that we see it being reported more.
So are the hotel owners just kind of turning a blind eye because they're like, hey, I got the room rented for the next 6-7 nights?
Yeah, I think they, in their minds, it's not me. I'm not doing it. I'm just providing this hotel room.
Right.
So there's two aspects of that I want to ask you about, and I hate to put you on the spot because we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but can the hotel be held criminally liable? Like, can they be prosecuted for it, or is there not a avenue for that? Or do you know? Yeah,
I mean, I know that there are cases that have been successful against the actual hotel chain. So yes, they can be held. I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think it's I would say criminally liable for facilitating trafficking.
For facilitating, because they would be participating in it if they knew,
and they're profiting off of the traffickers.
So what does somebody look like who's being sex trafficked? I mean, what is the typical thing that somebody needs to be looking out for? If they're trying to identify this. Let's say somebody does work at a hotel. They're like, hey, I don't want to participate in this. I want to make sure, but I appears to be granddad and his granddaughter staying in the room. Should I call the police? What should I do? I mean, how do
what
we
can they do?
know?
Yeah. Well, we do have a Georgia statewide hotline. So if you suspect trafficking happening, you can always provide a tip, and that goes to the GBI, and they can look into it.
When you say we, are you talking about your organization does, or like our state does?
The state.
The state does. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we have that put up on the bottom of the screen.
And Frontline, we do operate the line for adult survivors of trafficking and exploitation.
So how does that work? Like, why would they? How do people know to call you? And what if they call you? Like, what are they doing?
So if they're calling us, we get the calls when there's a survivor who needs services. So we would be able to talk with them, see if they're interested in coming into our safe home, and facilitate a rescue to get them into a safe location.
Because a lot of times it starts when they're teens, but then they turn 17, 18, and they're still there, stuck in the cycle. And that's when it becomes more difficult, like on the criminal defense side, to convince the DA's office that, look, this girl's a victim. She's not a criminal.
Right.
And they're like, she knew what she was doing. She got to run away at any time. Is that true? Can they run away at any time?
No,
Okay.
I think that's the, misunderstanding and the stereotype that, magically when they turn 18, it's their choice and they want to be doing it. The average age of entry into trafficking is 11 to 14 years old.
Good
Wow.
God.
Wow.
So
Really?
So this is happening at a very young age. And then, like you said, they turn 18 and they're still being trafficked and exploited. And, but you have to, when they're 18, you have to prove the force, fraud, and coercion. And I think in the eyes of law enforcement and judges, it can be hard to establish that.
Yeah, they're like, they were at a convenience store
Mhm.
before they went to his house, so they could have called the police there. I'm like, it's not that easy.
Yeah. And there's, different types of control. Sometimes traffickers are very violent and use threats of violence against them, their family. Sometimes it's that Romeo pimp where they really feel like it's their boyfriend and that he loves them, and they start to equate them as, I'm doing this for him, and they're controlling in that way. And oftentimes they don't even realize that they are a victim of trafficking. They don't even know that language. And they think, in their minds, this girl is 16, 15 years old,
Mhm.
being trafficked out of a hotel, but she called the trafficker her boyfriend. And
Right.
and they're using the language of sex worker in the document, but she's not a sex worker. She's not even old enough to consent to sex.
Right.
And so it
In her
isn't-
mind,
but in
she's-
her mind it is, because
But in her-
she's
her
been
mind, it's just her
abused.
boyfriend.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So going back to that question earlier, like how do people know if they're in that situation? Like, how do they know to call you, to call Frontline Response?
So we do outreach and give our number out on street outreach. We also, have the statewide hotline that gets distributed. It's online. If they search online for a hotline number, they'll find us. But we do have trafficking survivors calling us directly as well. But then sometimes it's somewhere else that they're at seeking help and they know to call our number. But we do try to get that number out so that people know that they can call us when they need help.
And so when they call you, like, what happens?
So if they're in a place where they're ready to get help and they want to get out of their situation, we will talk them through and let them know about the safe home and who we are and what we offer. And then we arrange a rescue team to pick them up in a safe location. So that might be a McDonald's or just somewhere public that they can get away. And sometimes they're coming to us from jail or from law enforcement. In that case, we coordinate with that. But then they're able to come into our safe home, and it's a beautiful house. We try to make it welcoming and just a peaceful refuge for them. They've been in survival mode for so long, and so we offer that kind of safe landing where they can rest, and we provide case management, trauma therapy, classes, and just support for them as they figure out their next steps and where they want to go.
And that's so necessary because a lot of times these handlers or boyfriends or whatever they call themselves are in control of all their money, their car, their, how they eat, where they go. I mean, they have no other family. That's all they have. And so it's scary for them to feel like they're going to have to leave that. So even though they're being forced into sexual servitude, they don't have anywhere else to go. And they've been doing it since they were 11. Right.
Yeah, they feel like they have no options, and
Yeah, at least here I can eat. Right.
So young ladies, if your boyfriend is having you have sex with somebody else for money, he's not your boyfriend. He's your handler. And you need to call this young lady. She will help you get out of that situation.
That's right. Well, that was a heavy topic, but necessary. We need to talk about these things. Let's. How can people support what you're doing at Frontline Response?
Yeah, so we have a lot of opportunities for volunteers to come and serve on our rescue team. In our safe home, we have women who volunteer in our safe home, and men. You can also volunteer on the rescue team and be involved in outreach as well. And if you were asking about how to recognize the signs, if you just are wanting to learn more, coming to our volunteer training is a good first step so that you can learn more about the issue, understand the signs to look for, know what to do and how to respond. And then also we'd love for you to volunteer with us. And then also October 5th, we have our Freedom Reimagined GALA. And that's
GALA, that means party.
Yes.
Oh, I like parties. We're going, Dwayne, we're going to that party.
I'm going.
Yes.
Now, do y'all provide any training for like local law enforcement or probation officers so that they can learn these signs too? And I guess even juvenile court.
Yeah. We have done trainings for judges, for public defenders' offices. We're open to do. We've done law enforcement training, so we are definitely happy to step in and help educate and partner in that way.
So all my DA friends, she's available. Y'all can get her down there. She can train your folks.
Now, you've been really delicate about talking about how we can support, and I appreciate that. There are plenty of volunteer opportunities, but frankly, I don't have time. I do have money, and I want to give money to your organization. Like, how do I do that?
Yeah, so we would love financial support as well. It takes a lot of funding to be able to do this work on the front lines. And so you can go to our website, frontlineresponse.org, and there's opportunities to give there. If you want to come to the gala and join the party, there's opportunities to give there. But we really rely on our community to provide that funding so that we can do this important work, because there are so many victims and survivors that need a safe place, and Frontline Response is serving victims of trafficking and exploitation, but also homelessness and youth prevention as well.
So, because when they're with you, like y'all are providing their housing, food, everything, right?
Trauma counseling, helping them get to that next step.
And that costs lots of money.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's important to do. So the three ways that we can help: one, volunteer; two, give our money, right? And is the QR code that we have, is that for the gala, or is that to go to the website? And
it should be for the gala.
For the gala.
Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna have the QR code on our on the bottom of the screen, or on the screen someplace where you can make a reservation to come to the big party.
Yes.
If you can't afford to buy a whole table, call me. I'll have you at my table. And if we run out of room, we'll buy more tables. But the other part of that is to go to the Frontline Response website and donate your money. Even if it's $5, even if it's $50, like, support this, because it's the thing that we can do, right?
Yep.
And for all my Methodist and Baptist friends out there that are going to pray for you, give you money too. They need
Thank
your
you.
money.
Exactly so. Well, thank you for joining us. Again, this has been something we've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and have the good folks at Frontline Response on to talk about. And we do really highly encourage you. Listen, do something about this. It's important.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do something.
Give them some money now.
That's right.
Go do it right now.
Thanks for listening. Tune in next time when Bob and Irreverent D talk law. If you or someone you know is in trouble with sex trafficking, call the Frontline Response Out of Darkness Hotline at 404-941-6024.